of November 2020 paper, and it looks like this. So this is all about shipping. Tons of cargo loaded into containers and stored in the harbour. Right, we have an array of containers, 1 to 50 of real numbers, maximum size of 50 elements, random real numbers for the different weights in tons. Let's go to 4.1.1. Write code to generate 50 random real numbers. Now we've never seen that before, but we can get around it, and it must be rounded to 1 decimal place and placed into an array. If you look at our code, we'll see that we have the global array. There's one temp array, but there's array of containers, 150 of real. Now you're going to fill that array with real numbers. Yes, they have a 2D array here as well, but you don't have to use it in this instance. It's optional. They also have a constant array. That's if your real numbers don't work, you can use ARR temp containers for your rest of your code if you're not able to generate the real numbers. And generating those real numbers is a little bit of a trick. It's only 4 marks, but it still has to be done. Yes, we use random range normally in class, so we will continue using random range. And there's different ways of dealing with this. In the actual memo of this question paper, you'll see a different method totally, which I'm not going to describe here. I'm going to use the random range method. What I'm going to do is that. Now, why do I get that? So I'm going to take the number 100. What's your lowest number you can get is 1. So if I take 100 and divide it by 100, I will get 1. If I take 9999 divided by 100, I get 99.99, which rounded is going to be 100. We don't want that. So we have to have a number that goes from 1 to 99, or we should say 98.9. Okay, 98.9 is the number we should be aiming for. So that is why the maximum number in our random range should be 9899. If I take 9998 and divide that by 100, I will get 99.9, which will be 100, which you don't want. It has to be from 1 to 99. In other words, a number from 1, a real number from 1 to 98.9. So if I take 98.99 and I divide that by 100, I will get 99. And that is why my maximum number in my random range, which will go from 1 to 9899, well, that's actually going to go to 19898, isn't it? Which is close enough. If I divide that by 100, I'll get 99 as well. If I go from 100 to 9900, I put 9900 here in this. Where did I'm trying to find the right cell. 900. What is the range going to be? It will be from 1 to 100 to the highest number will be 9989, which we don't want either. So it has to be 98, and if I use 99 there, I will have if I use 99, if I use this in this random range function, if I use 9899, the number will be 9898, which is good enough. If I want to have the numbers 98 to go to 9899, then I'll have to use a range in here 2 9 9 0 0, and then I'll get a number of 9899, because that will just be one less than 99,000. Take note, I'm dividing by 100 each time. So if this is the range 100, random range 100, 99,000, my lowest number will be 100, my highest number will be 98,099. Okay, that will be the highest. If I divide 9899 divided by 100, what will I get? 99. And there we have it. So that is how I'm going to do it. My random number is going to go, this is going to be my random range function. So we'll say random range 100 to 99,000. I know I'll get a number from that to 9899. I divide the lowest number by 100, I'll have 1. Divide the highest number by 100, I'll have 98.99. As you see, I'm dividing by 100, and then I'm happy with that. If I round that to one decimal place, and I'll get the number 99. And they say they want numbers from 1 to 99, both included. So I'm happy with that random range. I divide it by 100, then we use round 2 and minus 1. That minus 1 round 2 function with minus 1 as a second parameter will round to the first decimal place. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to use that code to get my number. Okay, now we're going to do that for each box of the loop. Each box of the array, ARR containers. We can say ARR containers, and we have to use a loop for k equals 1, 2, how many boxes are there? Let's say we must fill all of them up. 1 to 50, do ARR containers box number k equals that random range divided by 100 rounded to minus 1. The round 2 function has 2 parameters. The number you're rounding, which is a real number, and why is it a real number? It's an integer divided by 100. We round that to the first decimal place. If it was round to 1, then that would be rounding to tens, but minus 1 rounds to the first decimal place. So there we filled up our array, containers array, with the real numbers. And as I said, if you can't get that right, then you can use AR temp containers. Right, we're now going to use we do 4.1.2. If your attempt to populate the array doesn't work, then you can use AR temp containers. Now to use AR temp containers, we'll do the following. You'll just say for k equals 1 to 50, do AR temp containers box number k. That's it. That's all you'll do. If you can't do your round 2, I don't know if you get any marks for that, I'm not sure. You can look at the memo and see, you might get maybe one, I don't know, 1 mark. Right, so let's go to 4.2. Write code to display the weight of the containers from AR containers array in Richard. Question 4.1, arranged in 5 rows and 10 columns. Now, luckily, 5 and 10 makes 5 times 10 makes 50. So with our knowledge of 2D arrays, we can put it either in the 2D array, but we're going to work with a single array. It's actually easier. So we'll work with our single array, and we have a for loop counter. Oh, I forgot to put my for loop counter in here. Hang. Okay, integer. It's not going to work if I don't declare my for loop counter in question 4.1, going from 1 to 50. And then in 1.2 we're just going to display all those things that we just put in the array, but we have to build strings. And we can use a for loop because we're going to go through every single box for k equals 1 to 5. In fact, I'm going to not use k, I'll use I row and I col, just like we would do in a 2D array, because it helps me to visualize. And I'm building a row, 5 rows and 10 columns. I'm basically going to build a string that's going to contain 5, there will be 5 rows of them and 10 items in each string. So to build a string, I must make a string variable, call it S-line, initialize it, and we're going to take the first 10 for I col equals 1 to 10 and join them together. Now, how must they look when they're joined together? So we're going to do 5 rows, so I'm going to say for I row equals 1 to 5 rows of 10 each. So I initialize my empty string before I hit the for loop, 1 to 10, and now I'm going to join the first 10 of the 2D array, the single array, AR containers, I'm going to join that to S-line. And AR containers is a real number, float to string. We don't need to float to string F because it's been formatted to 1 decimal place. But are we going to separate them with anything? Spaces? Yep, it looks like we have to have some kind of spacing, hey? Yeah, let's just put a #9. Okay. So we joining up first. S-line equals, we're doing this 10 times. S-line is going to be joined, is going to be 10. Our col is going to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we will display S-line in the rich edit, which is here, already question 4, no, not question 4.1, yeah, question 4.1. Already question 4 underscore 1 dot lines dot add S-line. So let's see how many marks is that. That's 8 marks. We're doing that 5 times, but we've got a problem. We're only doing I col 1 to 10. We have to do this for an index from 1 to 50, not so? Yeah. An I col can't go from 1 to 10. Index is 0. Well, let's start at index is 0, okay? I know we want to have 5 in a group, and I've got to increment our index here somewhere. We are going to have to basically put our index over here. In fact, we'll increment our index inside this for loop here. Let's increment our index. We've got our index equal to 0 over there, and over here we can increment our index in our index, and over here we're using box number I index. What does index refer to? It's the box number of the array called ARR containers. That's going to go from 1 to 50. So now we know that 5 times 10 is 50, so we know that our index is going to start at 1 over here, and it will, yeah, every 5 lines, I mean, we're going to make 5 lines, but every 10 is going to be added to S line, and then we will display it after we've added the numbers into the line. We'll add it to the rich edit, and then we'll clear that S line, and our row will go from 1 to 5, I mean maybe it'll be 2, but this arcol 1 to 10 is just making sure we have 10 numbers, but this is very important to have our index there. We're incrementing our index in the middle for loop. Always remember that even with the 2D array, the middle for loop is going to go through every single box, and our index was initialized to 0 right in the beginning. Let's see if it works. Well, really, I haven't declared our index as an integer, so I suppose I better do that. Eh? Let's go. Oh, I forgot about a semicolon. Right, so make this program where we first have to click on that one, and then we click on this one. Oh, and that doesn't look right at all, does it? No. So we have to figure out why that's not working. Also I want to clear this code because I don't. Okay, fine. Let's clear this code. Let's see what our random numbers are. Comment that out. Right, our rows 1 to 5. Fine. S line is a string, empty string. We're joining this S line. Oh, I forgot to put S line plus. If I'm building a string, I have to say S line equals the previous S line joined to the number, and then we put the hash line at the end there. Okay, let's see if that works, because I can't say S line equals that and then go and put it in. That's a bit silly. I've got to join. The S line has been built up with a whole lot of numbers, one after the other. So that looks about right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's 5 lines that don't all fit on this display. But let's see if I'm using my random numbers. 31.2. I wonder if they use the random numbers 31.2 over here. I don't think they do in the memo. I mean they're using the temp array. Okay, so we'll go and use our temp array as well for a number check. So data check, to make sure that I progress. I'm going to use I'm just using this temp array over here by uncommenting out this code. And we do it. Let's do it. Great. Yeah, now we got the right the same numbers because we're using the temp array, but you're supposed to generate those random numbers, okay? Random real numbers, you get the full marks for generating the random numbers there. Okay, so that's that one done. Next one. Right, now they say a ship in the harbor must be loaded with containers from one-dimensional array. Fine. Total weight must be as close as possible to 200. We can add up everything until we get just under 200. So, containers must be loaded row by row until maximum weight is reached. If adding the weight of a specific container to the total weight causes the weight to exceed 200, then you mustn't load that container and then carry on searching to find another container with a lower weight that can still be loaded onto the ship without exceeding the maximum weight. So we have a single array, but we know that we divided it up into a two-dimensional array. Well, look, it's not really a 2D array, we just displayed it as such there using our code, this code. We used for loops before, but now we cannot use a for loop in our next button click event because we have to have a conditional loop. We're going to go through every box of the array, but we're only going to stop. We have to stop when we find an amount that's just under 200. In other words, we'll stop as soon as the amount is greater than 200. We're going to add up a number, add up a number, add up a number, add a number, add them up, add up, until a number is greater than 200. As soon as it's greater than 200, we will decrease, we'll subtract that number. Let's say we add this one, we add that one, we add that one, add that one. If you look at our, I'm using the temp array, their data. Because if I look at that, 3143 5.1, 3143 5.14, it always helps to look at the data. 41.2 goes up to 52, 15 and 1.4, 52, but 41 is not going to work, 97 is not going to work, so we have to subtract it when we see that one. And we're going to be subtracting quite a lot until we get to there. But we can't really go, in this instance, we can't go and hard code this at all. You're not allowed to hard code. Well, you get 1 mark if you hard code, and that's all. What we're going to do is we're going to use a while loop, go through each one, each box of the array, until we have 200. And if we have 200, we'll subtract that particular weight. So we're going to go through all the weights until we get 200, over 200, or equal to. If it's greater than 200, we're going to subtract that container, and then we'll and check the next one. Okay. Number of containers loaded onto the ship will depend on the random data generated. So we must remember, AR containers array. So use your AR containers array that you randomly generated the numbers for. We're going to test the code on the temp array just to make sure we have the right answer, but you must use your AR containers code. It all depends on the fact that you actually must have done this correctly, but if it's not correct, you can test your code on AR temp containers. So now we are going to look at more explanation here. The weight of the first 5 containers row 1 adds up to total value. That adding weight of the next 3 containers will cause a maximum amount to be exceeded, and therefore they're not loaded. The next suitable container to be loaded where the container's weight is that, and thereafter the container with the weight of 1. The total weight obviously must be added up each time and checked, and it's and you must find the closest, and then no more other containers must be loaded. Display the weight of the containers loaded and stripped in the rich edit. Write the weights onto a new text file. So we're going to write the weights to a new text file called tons. Terminate the process of loading the container shipped. Now, writing to the text file, what must it look like? And then show us. I guess we're going to write all of that to the text file and the total to the text file. So that string must be written to the text file and the total. Terminate the process of loading as soon as the maximum possible weight is loaded onto the ship. Display the total weight. So on. Right, so we know what we're going to do. We're going to go through one box of the array at a time, but we want to stop when we find a match. So we'll use a while loop. I'm going to use a counter for my while loop, and I'll set my counter to 0. And then we'll say while I_num is less than, we can decide less than or equal to 50, do begin and end. Now inside the loop we're going to go and increment our total. We have to have a total. So our total, it's an array of real numbers. We have to go and add up boxes. So I'm going to make our total. Remember, we must go and total up something. So we initialize our totaling variables and our counter. Our_num is our counter. Our_num is going to go back, and we want to continue going through everything while our total is less than or equal to 200. begin and end. Oops, I already did begin and end, didn't I? Right, so now we get increment inum, because we've got to get through each box of the array. Increment inum, box number 1, and then we're going to say R total equals R total plus AR containers, box number inum. Remember, inum is our array box numbers. And now we must ask the question, if our total is greater than 200, then we're going to subtract that box number. We don't want it. You know what I mean? No, we don't want it if it's greater than 200. Else we are going to join our total into a string called S-line. S-line. Why do we want to display it, and we also want to write to a text file. You can only write strings to text file. We want to display it, and we want to plus float to string, and of course we don't have to do float to string F here because the array has already been rounded to 1 decimal place. S-line equals S-line plus. Now I'm going to display S-line in the place where they said already question 4.2. Yeah, display the containers all in there and display the total over there in panel question 4. RED question, what is it? Question 4 underscore 2 dot lines dot add S line, then the panel question 4 dot caption colon equals float to string R total. Yeah. Let's see if that works. And I'm using I've uncommented that out because I want to use array of 10 containers just to compare my data with the given data. I mean the display on the question paper. Of course you have to click all the other buttons first, and they've done code for that. I didn't put #9, so I think I have to separate all of these numbers with a #9. Get some spaces between them, and then we can see if they're correct. So that was quite an easy question. If you used a 2D array, you would have probably had a bit more difficulty. Let's see if it is correct though, because I've got a naught there and I don't like that naught. You have to not have the naught there. 31.2, 43.4, 5.1, 41.2, 15.8, 1.4. Now my naught there is a bit of a puzzle. Let's go and see why we have that naught. Possibly got to do with this. We must look at our counters. If we get 50, you see that equal sign there, and I'm incrementing inum. If inum equals 50 and I increment, I'm going to have 51, aren't I? So get rid of that sign, the equal sign there, because remember the loop is going to increment over here, and if it's 50, we don't want it to be 51 because there isn't box number 51 And that's probably why that note is there. And now that's great. There we go. And so story, but we're not finished yet. We have to, and we're supposed to put a nice caption there. See there, total weight of load. We have to go and write to the text file all of these two things. So we have to assign a text file variable to tfile text file variable, any variable name to text file. We're going to assign file tfile tons.txt, a new text file. So we don't have to check if it exists because they are telling us a new text file, and we rewrite. And then we write ln we'll write another one floater string floater string R total, something to that effect. Now we didn't have to check if the text file exists because they said a new text file, but on the safe side if not file exists, begin sound file rewrite, else begin the sound file and append. So that would be the correct way to do it if it was a text file, whether it exists or not. We want to see if it does not exist, we will create it with rewrite. If it does exist, we can add a line to it with append. So in case you get something like that you have to do in the exam, remember that. And we will go and see what the text file looks like. Of course, my computer takes a while. Hey? Oh, you know why it didn't work? There's nothing in there, and you know why? Because we have to close file tfile. If you don't put that there, that's one mark you'll lose. Close file tfile, because writing will not happen unless you close file afterwards. And now we can see. And luckily I put in a pen there, but even if I didn't, doesn't matter, because the sound file, the rewrite statement will delete whatever there and create it as a new file, empty. The pen will just allow you to add to it. That's not exactly what they asked for. They wanted you to just go to add a new text file. Okay, so that's it, and good luck with your exams, and study hard, bite the bullet, you can do it.